Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast. I'm really excited to do this show today. It's a topic that we have not talked about at all, but before we jump into tonight's show, I want to introduce the co-host of the show. Welcome back to the show, Christy. How are you?
Hi, I'm well.
And we've got a special guest on tonight. We are going to talk about a DVC member cruise, and I'd like to introduce from Chicago, Inez. How are you doing tonight, Inez?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, definitely. And this is a cruise that I know is very hard to get. So I was really excited when you reached out to us and said you'd like to come on and talk about your experiences on sailing with the DVC cruise. And you have not sailed on one, but you've sailed on how many now?
We've sailed on two so far.
2 DVC member cruises. So let's hold that thought, because I know it's a pretty tough thing to get, or a pretty tough reservation to get. But besides the DVC cruises, how many cruises have you been on with Disney?
We've been on 9 so far. A couple on the Fantasy. We've done all 4 ships. We've done a maritime cruise, and we just did our first back-to-back cruise in February on the Wonder.
Oh, wow. Where did that go?
That started in Puerto Rico, which was nifty because we had never been on a cruise that didn't originate and in Port Canaveral. So it started in Puerto Rico and it ended in Port Canaveral, and then we reboarded in Port Canaveral and again landed in Port Canaveral.
Who all cruises?
It's myself, my husband, and my 2 children. I have a 13-year-old now son and a 10-year-old daughter.
So this back-to-back, was that a Southern Caribbean out of Puerto Rico and then it turned into something else?
It was not. It was a repositioning. So it went from Puerto Rico to St. Thomas and then up to, or no, maybe it didn't. I don't remember where it went to. I know we did go to St. Thomas, but I think, oh no, it was that one. And then the Port Canaveral was a short one. It was a 4-day or a 4-night and a 3-night that we combined to make a longer cruise.
Well, cool. Have you ever done that, Christy, back-to-back like that?
I have not. Well, that's not true. I think when I was like in high school, but that's a whole nother world. And you used to be able to, when you were on board, they'd have vacant space and they would say like for $130 or something, you could cruise for another week, like on the next cruise, and you just stay on. And so we did that once, I think.
There were definitely people on who booked again and ended up doing the through, but I'm sure it was for more than 130.
Yeah.
Yes, but that was that was many, many moons ago. So you think there were people that were booked while they were on for the next cruise?
Oh, yeah. We overheard, because they put you in a holding room. So, like, They'll put you, depending on the size, the D lounge, or I think we're in the Cadillac lounge. So while everyone else is getting off the boat, you're there for a little bit and they count everyone. And so you get to talking. And there was definitely a couple next to us who just ended up booking again while they were on.
Cool.
Yeah, it was neat. I highly recommend trying it. It was a bucket list item for us. It was a lot of fun.
Did you keep the same cabin when you did that, or do you have to move everything out of your cabin and then move back in, or how does that work?
No, that's actually the really cool part. If you are able to keep the same cabin, you can get right back on and your room is ready. So I felt really bad, and I thought of you, Christy, the other show, when I listened to you, how you went under the rope. We were able to do that, and we got lots of looks from folks, unfortunately, but our room was ready and no one was turning it over. So we were able to go change, get our things, and then go back out to the pool, which was kind of neat.
Right. So, yes, prior to the room being ready, that one. Thanks.
Well, we kind of got off a little sidetrack there, but that's kind of cool. I would love to do a back-to-back one of these days. I know that the last show that we did about the transatlantic, Brett, that was talking about the transatlantic, he said there were several people that used that to get over to Europe. Then they did the next, or the first Mediterranean cruise, and I thought that would have been kind of cool too. So whenever you could do a back-to-back, that's got to be pretty cool. So, but tonight we're going to talk a little bit about your DVC member cruises, and I just thought I'd start off with, how long have you guys been DVC members?
Since 2007.
Okay, and do you guys use it mostly for Walt Disney World, or I guess what came first, DVC or Disney Cruise Line, or how did that work?
definitely DVC first. We started to go because my son was into cars, and that ended up, when we looked at it, it seemed like a good idea. We had never been to Disney before. Oh, I hadn't. My husband had, but just looking at all the different things you can use your DVC points on, it seemed to make sense. But we ended up loving it, and we kept going back, and it got to a point where I was tired of the parks and looking for something else. So we were looking at cruising as an option. And at the time, it was that year where there were a lot of cruise ships in the news with people getting sick, like entire ships and cruise lines you'd hear like week after week. And you never heard Disney having that problem. So that just kind of solidified it for us. We were definitely going to try a Disney cruise because we had never been on one, and it was something new to try. And we loved it so much that our first one was in 2013, and we've been on 9 since.
So once you started cruising with DCL, when did you kind of see or hear about the DVC member cruises?
If you don't mind, before we answer that question, I just want to give a listener that might not know, DVC is the Disney Vacation Club, and it is Disney's answer to the timeshare situation. So people buy a contract, they buy points, they pay up front an amount of money, and then they pay a maintenance fee every year for the number of points they have, and they get to go and, stay in the resorts and now go on cruises with their points instead of paying cash like other people do. So, okay. So when did you hear about the DVC cruises?
They send you magazines and you see things online, and we had heard about it that way. We did not use our points for it, although I did see, that you could use it. And it is in the book when they are originally selling you the membership, you get to kind of see that you can use your points on it. So we thought we would try it. And at that point, we really liked that the double dip to Castaway was kind of the standard DVC cruise up till that point. And in 2015, it was the first time that they did 2 members cruises, I think. They did one in Alaska and then the double dip. And we thought we would try doing the double dip to Castaway because we were trying to convince our kids to go to the kids club on the beach, one trip for Castaway, so we could visit Serenity Bay. And then the other trip to Castaway would be a family trip because my husband and I had never seen the adults only beach.
Did it work?
It didn't. No, it didn't. They called us as soon we just got off the tram. We're looking at the beautiful sand, in front of us, and we're walking out and we get the call that they wanted to be picked up.
Oh no.
That's okay. We've been on some without them since, so.
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Well, at least they love you, at least for now. So, let's talk about actually booking it itself. So you talked about being a DVC member, and only members can, I'm not sure if a non-member can cruise on. I think they can, but usually they sell out beforehand. But as far as booking goes, I think now, and if you can correct me, you can either pay all in cash, pay all in points, or do a little bit of both, right?
You can, yes. And you were right, though. You cannot cruise on a DVC member cruise unless you are a DVC member or you're traveling with one. In fact, they've even made some recent restrictions because you can buy your DVC membership directly from Disney or on the secondary market, like a resale market. They have made, I don't know exactly what the point in time is where they put a line in the sand and said that you can only use your points on a Disney cruise if you purchase with Disney directly. So the folks that purchased resale prior to that point in time are grandfathered in and they still get that perk or benefit, but others going forward would not be able to use their points on a cruise.
It was in the last year or two, so maybe 2 years. That's interesting. So on these DVC cruises, and that was my question, there's only DVC people or DVC people and their guests?
Yes. And then, of course, the many people that DVC brings onto the boat for entertainment purposes.
Oh, sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about booking it because I've heard that it's really tough to book. Matter of fact, when we were on our last cruise last month in the Mediterranean, the the 2 DVC member cruises came available to book for 2019, and it was the day that we set sail. So I didn't even think about it because we're DVC members, but I didn't even think it wouldn't have fit with our schedule anyways. But there was like, I knew by the time we had an opportunity to try and get to a phone, there was no way it would be sold out by then. So can you talk a little bit about like your experience actually just getting the reservation itself?
Sure. Yeah, you have to dial in to the Disney Vacation Club number to make the reservation. You can't use a travel agent or anything like that. The first cruise wasn't hard. I think probably because the double dip again was just kind of their standard thing. But the second cruise we went on was the first time the members cruise was on the Fantasy. So it was the first time it was a week-long cruise instead of your typical 4-night cruise. That, again, was the norm for those cruises. And for that one, we waited in total about 3 hours to complete that reservation.
Wow.
We would dial in and you'd get the busy signal. So my husband had a phone. I had a cell phone. We had the house phone going, and you just kept hitting redial and you'd hear the busy signal and try again. And we never intended on spending that much time, but it just becomes, you just feel compelled to keep dialing in and to get through. And we did eventually get through, and then we were holding. And it's, again, also funny because these cruises are a little bit more expensive, and we had kind of predetermined what class room we were going to go for. And of course, by the time, once you don't get the busy signal, you're on hold for a long time as well. And then when you finally get through, or at least for us, of course, the type of room we wanted wasn't available. So we ended up spending more because at that point, how could you not book a room after you held for 2.5, 3 hours? But in fact, the concession we made on that one was that we didn't bring the kids with. It was just my husband and I, and it worked out price-wise the same amount that we wanted to spend for the original class of room. So I felt bad a little bit that we didn't bring the kids with, but it was a really good cruise. And we were glad that we were lucky enough to get tickets because I do think it sold out that afternoon.
Wow.
That's what I've heard, that they sell out that fast. So good for you guys for getting in. Now, once you book a cruise like this, normally you can go online and make your port excursions. If you want to get through Disney, you can make dining reservations at Palo or Remy. Is there anything else that they add as far, because I know there's a bunch of different experiences that they provide for the members once you're on board. Was there anything else added to some of the pre-things that you could sign up for?
No, the one thing that is different is that you have to pay for the cruise in total when you make the reservation.
Okay.
So whether it be points or points in cash or all cash, it has to be paid the minute you make the reservation.
Is it refundable?
I believe, yes, that it's the same time periods, that apply, for refund. Yep.
So then once you've got it booked, is there anything else special that you can sign up for ahead of time outside of what you normally can book? Or is it just kind of the normal stuff that you can book as far as Palo and Remy go?
No, it's the same things. Well, when we did it, you couldn't do the drink, the different tastings online. It was still when you got on the boat. But everything, it was just your standard spa packages, your standard excursions, and all of the same booking windows applied. The only thing that was different or special is when you get your the little booklet in the mail, it does say Members Cruise on it, and that's all, branded. I will say, too, that, apart from it being on the Fantasy, so there's more people and some of it's tough to book. Naturally, because there are so many people, with the DVC cruises, the Members Cruises, they're all platinum cruisers. So you can forget about a cabana. You can forget about any of the things that you think you might have gotten because you were platinum. Everybody's platinum on that thing. So if you're not concierge, you may not get some of those things.
That's a good point.
Wow. You're among the Disney Cruising elite when you're on a DVC member cruise. That's awesome. So I guess, not to beat a dead horse, but then do they give you kind of heads up as far as some of the special events that are going to take place in that booklet, or is most of the stuff you're going to find out once you get on board?
Yep. Well, it's all when you get on board. It's going to be special. You just don't know what it's going to be. The only thing I think that's pretty standard that people know, but again, it's not published, is some of the like at the finale, the you know how they have the shows throughout. There's always a Broadway show that they actually have Broadway singers come on to perform that last night, but you don't know who. And another thing that, again, you know will happen, but you don't know what, is every night on the members cruises, there are gifts for you in your room.
That's fun. So what are some of the gifts? Do we want to talk about that?
Sure.
Maybe give out one or two, but don't give out them all. Don't give them all
I
out.
guess we don't want to ruin the whole surprise.
Yeah.
Were the gifts the same for both your cruises? No. Okay.
No, they're really totally tailored to the cruise. So 2015 cruise, we got a cooler bag, really nice igloo bag, and you get more than one. And that is in addition to, by the way, the bags that you get for your Castaway Club membership. You still get that. But this was a big igloo bag, and because we had 2 adults, we got 2 of everything. Some things we got 4 of since there were 4 of us. But some of the bigger, higher ticket items, you only got 2 of. So the cooler bag was one of the things we only got 2 of. They have a DVC branded Clue game. That one we received 2 of since there were 2 adults in the room. The 2015 cruise, they had brought on 2 artists, Disney animators, and they painted and created these calendars. And we got 4 of those, and each of the calendars had perforated its frameable art for every single month. That was one thing that we got 4 of. Special pins that mark, the trading pins that you see at like the resorts or in the parks, but these are for members cruise. There's a special Disney Files. If you're a DVC member, you get a magazine called Disney Files. There's a special edition for the members cruise that you get a copy of. When you check in, everybody gets a lanyard regardless of your status. And the lanyard is a DVC members cruise, and it has like a big, heavy, specially branded for that cruise medallion. So they're both different.
Let's hold it there.
Okay. Sure. And can I just say, Steve, do you think your wife would just mind if you and I just went on one of these cruises one day? Like, I have to figure out how to go on a cruise with a friend. Maybe I can just be a third wheel with you. It'll be fine, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, they have staterooms that sleep 5, right? So...
Yeah, I can sleep in the little bunk.
Yeah. Well, with my luck, by the time I got on, the only thing that would be available would be the Walt Disney Suite. So then we'll just go with that, right?
Well, might as well.
First.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I was only kidding. As I said that, I was like, that's probably the first thing that sold out. So I mean, just to throw this out there, our first cruise was Alaska in 2015, and we sailed on the sailing right after the DVC members cruise.
Oh.
And so my son, I don't even know why, because we weren't Castaway Club members yet. It was our first cruise, and they gave him a silver lanyard, or the kids club did, to keep his stuff on. Mm-hmm. And he lost it, so we went down to guest services, and the guy comes back. He goes, we don't have any more of those silver ones, but you can have this one. And he gave us the DVC. He gave him the DVC members cruise, and I remember it's got like a big anchor on it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
And the middle swirls, yeah.
Yeah. So he's got that, but only because he lucked into it, I guess. So I've seen one of those once, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
And they're different every year. They rebrand it a little bit every single year, and they decorate the entire ship with that year's members cruise artwork. It's something. As soon as you walk into Port Canaveral, they have a giant banner that says, welcome DVC members cruise. You get your lanyard when you check in, and when you get on the boat, like if you've ever been on the Maritime or the Halloween, how they have the window clings all over the windows that are decoration. Similarly, they have the same for the members cruise. They even have the cups that they give you the drinks in. Those are members cruise. In fact, we kept a couple. I felt so goofy, like they're plastic, disposable cups, but they were so neat. The napkins are members cruise. It's definitely neat.
So once you guys get on the ship and you pick up the navigator that kind of gives you the highlights of the week, I'm guessing then from what you're saying that the ins and outs of it are kind of the same, as far as you've got your dining rotations, you can sign up for different activities that you can normally do on the ship. But how does it work from there then? Do they have a different activity every night? Is it several activities, or how do they kind of fill your time as far as once the sail away starts?
So the sail away party is a little bit different. They have the CEO come on board, and they've got your, welcome home sign, and he introduces all of the special guests that they've brought on board. So, for example, on this last cruise, the 7-night one, he introduced Phil Farmer, who's the voice of Goofy, Ashley Brown, who plays Mary Poppins on Broadway. They had actually a lot of Broadway folks on this last cruise. They had Josh Strickland and Alton Fitzgerald and Kissy Simmons, so Lion King folks. They had Darla Anderson from Coco, the executive producer, and Lee, I'm going to butcher his name, Unkrich, the director. They also had the little guy, Anthony, who is the voice of Miguel in Coco. He was there. They had the director for the Frozen short that was in front of Coco. So anyway, they introduce all of those folks as you come on, and they don't really disclose a whole lot, just that there's a lot in store for you to really get you hyped up for it. And then in terms of the activities, everything is it falls very much in line with what you'd see on a regular Disney cruise. It's just kind of amped up a bit. In the Navigator, you can even see kind of the distinguishing factors, like the things that are standard DCL things, like bingo. And then you'll see, how they have the drawing classes, working with the artists, where they teach you how to do that. Well, you'll see that, but it'll be named a little bit different, and it'll say brought to you by DVC. And when you go to, and it says who it's with, you go to a class and it's an Imagineer or a Disney illustrator doing the class, not one of the standard, folks who are there running activities like you would have on a regular cruise. Similarly, the acts that they have, like a magician or comedians, typically they're brought on special for the DVC cruises. So there's some type of award-winning entertainment group. And they're different, it's different stuff every night. It's really neat. So the last cruise they had, again, that one they had Richard Kind. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He is the voice of Bing Bong. He was on, there was a show on, he's a regular actor. You'll see him all the time. He does voice as well as regular character acting, but he did some improv stuff as well as storytelling, just how he got into the business, how he ended up working with Pixar and with Disney. So it's really neat.
Wow.
It's just loaded. I mean,
it really is.
We'll get to your question. That is just and I'm surprised there's room for a regular cruise in there.
There were a lot of sea days.
Yeah. So here's my, do you like to go to the drawing classes? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny to see that, people really want that artist. You normally see they'll give away whoever drew it at the front of the, class that day. They'll give it to some kid, and you'll see adults really wanting that art because it was done by a Disney illustrator.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I was kind of that you could actually get the art that person drew. So I was thinking, did it help your artistry as far as having an Imagineer do it versus somebody from the ship?
Not a little, not even a little. No,
yeah, I don't think they can help me either. So, but I do love those classes. So. You talked about a little bit about the room, having a different gift every day being brought in. Anything else special that they do to the rooms for you guys?
No, they'll give you things every day, and sometimes twice a day. It just depends on the thing. I think I personally feel like this last cruise that we went on, the 7-night, because it was a special anniversary, because it was their first time doing the 7-nighter, I feel like it was even more special than the first one we went, the Double Dip. Mm-hmm. They previewed Coco on that show. So you go into some of these screenings, and they did some stuff that on the other one, but it wasn't quite as neat, where they're previewing information to the public on that. That is, it hasn't been released yet. So you have to go through a metal detector. They tell you there's no cameras. And they have a line of, because so the first cruise, it was showing us pictures of Shanghai Disney. And they had one of the Imagineers who was coordinating the work there. And it was a year before Shanghai Disney opened. And so they were showing that. But for this cruise, we got to see director and the producer of Coco were on on board, like I said, they were telling us about the making of it, and they showed all kinds of slides and, just bringing us, through their story of how Coco came to be. It wasn't done being filmed or edited yet. It was set to be released in a few weeks or a month or something. And they showed us as much as they could patch together before that evening. And then the little boy who played Miguel, the voice of Miguel, he came out and he performed for everyone, one of the songs, which was really cool. And then that night, when you went back to your room, everybody had a special Members Cruise DVC Coco t-shirt, some temporary tattoos. There's something else. Oh, a poster, a movie poster for Coco, like a cute, really guitar thing, and then an actual little paper guitar that the kids could play with. And then they had a deck party, like you'd have on Pirate Night. And they had it decorated all with the little paper flags, so it looked like Dia de los Muertos. And they had fireworks, and they were passing out hot churros to everyone. It was really cool. And then they did something similar the next night where we got to see the preview. We got to see that in its entirety because that was done. The Olaf short, what was it called? Olaf.
It's like the summer.
Frozen Adventure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the short that played before Coco.
Okay.
So again, the director was on and he was telling us about how they came to make it. And then we got to see the whole thing. And then after that night, when you went to your room, there was an Olaf scarf in the room for everyone. And you went upstairs and they had it snow on deck. And they passed out cookies and cocoa to everyone. So
is there like other than maybe the days in port, is there like something like that every night where you kind of have stuff that happens during the day and then it kind of culminates into something like a party at night?
Yeah, or something similar. Yes, it's not always a party on deck. That one had the most parties I've ever seen, but okay. They passed out this wasn't a party, but it is definitely like a common thread or theme that they're pulling through the entire day. Or through the cruise, they gave us a box because the theme for that cruise was a film festival. So they gave us a box and it looked like it was a map of the Caribbean, but the islands were all shaped. If you looked at it, it was kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow, the way they made it, all the little pieces came together, and they all had something to do with one of the DVC resorts. And then every night, so this came in a weird box, which you didn't understand why you had this big box, but then every night they gave you a lithograph. So at the end of the cruise, your box was full. And then they would give you like a postcard that had the similar branding. And again, it looked like Pirates in the Caribbean, and there was the DVC. And then they ended up giving you a voucher for ice cream to get at Vanellope's? It's the little ice cream shop, and they ended up having a treasure flavor DVC member special flavor that you could get for ice cream. So you just kind of followed their treasure hunt through the thing. It was, again, just kind of nice little treats that they have that make it special.
Before we kind of go on, do you kind of get the sense, it sounds like the 2017 cruise, it was just a little bit bigger, you're saying, in your words, kind of more special than the 2015. As a DVC member, you've been one longer than I have. And just in general, it seems like they're kind of, I get the feeling that they're putting a lot of effort into making DVC ownership, if you buy it through Disney, and being able to have these experiences, trying to put more, I'm trying to find the right word, kind of like muscle behind it, like making it mean more to get people to buy through Walt Disney rather than buying through maybe the secondary market. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does, definitely. I think a lot of people say how expensive these cruises are, but when you look at it, it includes all of your tips. Which I think is kind of a big deal because that can get expensive. And when you look at, comparatively speaking, what that cruise would cost without the tips, if you were just going on a similar itinerary, the pricing isn't that far off. And when you see everything that is, just telling you that wasn't even everything that was on that cruise that was offered, to us, that costs something, right, for Disney. So I do think that those are a big thank you and a perk to members for having ownership with Disney. So I definitely think they want you to go through them and show you, this is why there's value there.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to turn it into like I'm going to use a big word, nefarious kind of thing on their part, but it just seems like with all the the member Magic Nights that they have at Disney World and Disneyland now for members, and it just seems like they're really, putting effort into it. And as a member, you definitely appreciate it, I think.
Definitely. Well, and it's going to help them sell all those new resorts, right, that they have open.
Right.
I think they're still trying to sell Aulani. I don't know that that's sold out completely.
No, I think that's going to be maybe a long time in the going. What other special experiences kind of stick out in your memory then, as far as maybe either talks or you talked about the last night where they have kind of a bigger Broadway show with the Broadway stars? What were some of the other experiences that have really stuck out in your mind? All
of the acts are neat, but it's one of the things that I think is really cool about being on those cruises is, you're all in the same space, right? So you're there, and when they're having a party in that main area, when it's the captain's out and they're passing out drinks and everyone's there and they have the music and the characters out, you are there with the executive director of Coco and, the little kid who plays Miguel and his whole family, and everyone is it's all in one place. So that is really neat, like going to breakfast at Cabanas and, oh yeah, there's Bill Farmer, the voice of Goofy. You pass by and he's really nice. He'll say, hi and talk to whomever. Another neat thing was like I like to get up early in the morning and I would go to the Cove Cafe for coffee, and it's nice and quiet, and you have these Imagineers having a business meeting behind you, and you hear them talking about casting for the next DCL, cruise. Like we heard them in 2015 talking about casting that they were doing for Tangled, which hadn't even shown up on the ships yet, which was really neat.
Wow. I'm just trying to take it all in.
I mean, just being in that kind of environment for 7 days, similar people such as yourselves that are really, passionate about Disney, and being around kind of the people that are creating stuff that we're getting to experience. What an amazing opportunity, huh? It
really is. I'm sad that we're not going to be able to go on the one to Bermuda that's coming up in 2019. That one is a new itinerary. I bet they'll do something super special for it, as with the other one right on the West Coast, because they haven't done anything like that ever. So those, I bet, are going to be really good cruises. Unfortunately, we have a 12-night cruise in the summer that year that I can't, and one in January on Disney, a Marvel cruise. So I don't think I can squeeze another one in.
Do the prices increase on, like, for points increase as the cruise gets more full, or is it just the same price throughout?
No, it's the same price throughout.
So, like, as they, how when Disney sells out the other ships, as they start to get more full, they raise the price on the cabin. So they don't do that?
No.
So, Steve, you need to watch if people cancel. How do you stalk to see if there's new space? And then you should take your co-host.
Yeah. In all honesty, I did see, and I don't even know why I saw this, but there was, and it must have come up around when the refund window, I'm sure there's a refund window where you get the full 100% back, and then it kind of decreases after that. But I don't even know why I saw this, but I saw that there was actual space, like DVC advertised it, that there's a limited availability to get on the cruise here in 2018. So I was kind of surprised at that. So I guess that's a possibility, but I bet you it's pretty tough.
They do have a wait list that you can put your name on and they'll call you.
That's probably horrible knowledge for you to have, Steve.
Yeah, it is terrible knowledge, isn't it? Well, what about like the port days? You went to St. Thomas and Tortola on the Eastern with the Fantasy in 2017. Did they do anything special like in the ports itself, or the port days just kind of like, hey, go do whatever you want to do? I mean, does that make sense? Do they have any like maybe special excursions or anything?
I did not see any special excursions. I'm not aware of any special excursions either. We did not do our excursions through Disney. We ended up chartering a boat for ourselves for the day, with a captain to go snorkeling which was wonderful. I would highly recommend it, especially knowing it was going to be on the Fantasy and it was just my husband and myself. If there was an opportunity to not go on an excursion with 40 or 60 of my closest DVC friends, I thought that might be nice.
Where'd you guys go snorkeling at? Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. She was great. They took us all over to St. John's. We went to the, what is it? I don't remember the name of it. It's the baths. That's what it is. We went to the baths. We went to a bunch of different areas all around Tortola and some of the other neighboring islands, as long as we stayed within the British Virgin Islands area. And she always found a space where we were the only ship. She, knew where we could find turtles and baby sharks. And so it was really great. And we were very fortunate timing wise, because I think within a week of us coming back that year was with all of those devastating hurricanes. So we were able to see Tortola and St. Thomas before they were struck by Maria and the other hurricanes that really, put them out of commission for a long time.
Yeah, there's just some of them are just starting to come back now. So was this the first cruise without your kids then?
That was the second.
Second one, okay. I was going to say, what was that like? But I guess you'd been on one before. Do you feel weird without your kids, or do you guys just enjoy it just as much? And weird's not the right word.
We felt bad, especially on that cruise, because they could have, there was so much there that they would have liked. But in general, we enjoy cruising without them and with them. We're going on another cruise in October without them, but we went on the double in February with them, and we have one in January of next year with them. It's just different, right? Especially, I think, now they're getting to an age where they aren't as into the kids club as they were before. So if we're not sailing with someone else to keep them, that they can hang with, they don't necessarily want to be in the kids club. We've been very fortunate and found Disney, through Disney Magic, sat us with a family that we love. And we went on one of the cruises, and we've been on 2 cruises with them so far, and we have another one planned with them. Our children are the same ages, and we all get along really well. Yeah, so it makes cruising easier.
Yeah, that's kind of neat when you can find that and make it work out so that you guys can go back again.
To confirm, so you will do this again, right, when the opportunity allows itself?
Definitely. I don't know that I do a double dip. I will wait for a better itinerary or a milestone, anniversary for Disney, for DVC, just having seen kind of the difference between what they bring to the table for it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking that we need to find somebody that's on the 2019 DVC member cruise, because maybe they'll leak what the names of the next 3 ships are.
Yeah.
They have to put you through a serious, you can't tell anybody, sign this paper. But yeah, that'll be kind of a special thing too. Okay, so we talked about the food a little bit. Anything different in the dinners as far as with the DVC member cruise? Do they offer anything different as far as food goes, or with the dinners themselves?
I thought they did, but my husband, we were talking about the other day, he said they didn't. They do have all of the menus are branded with the members cruise, so there's special menus for that. It is some of the food that you've seen before. I swear I remember them having more clever names for some of the things that were, probably just the same chicken or whatever, but they just found a different name that kind of went with the theming. But a lot of it was what you've seen before. They just have a special menu for it, which they let you take home if you want.
That's part of the reason why they gave you that box to put all your stuff in after the end of the cruise.
Yeah, that's insane. Did you just bring an empty suitcase with you?
Yes, and that's one of the things, like when we did our initial research the first time we went on, they tell you, like anyone who's been on one will tell you, bring an empty suitcase. You'll need it.
Wow.
How about, do they offer special merchandise, too, in the stores with DVC stuff on it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and
okay.
It sells out quick, so, yep.
So get down there early, huh?
Yes, definitely. The other thing that is, again, kind of like other cruises, but just up a notch is, how they have the DVC desk?
Yes.
Where you can go down, and they used to do it on certain nights they would tell you, come down and we'll give you a little something, and they'll give you a hat or the little bracelet that lights up.
Mm-hmm.
So for these cruises, they gave you stuff all the time as well, and they weren't the standard stuff. So they gave away those luggage tags that are made of metal, and they have the barcode on them, like hand sanitizers, postcards. Every night they had something different down in the lobby area instead of at the little DVC desk. But it was meant to mirror kind of those nightly giveaways that you would get on a regular cruise.
Okay, how fun would it be to be the purchasing person in charge? Like, if that was your job at Disney, to pick the items that would be given away that have the brand on it. Oh my God, that would be my dream job.
The other thing they're really big on those cruises is selling DVC and some of the other things. So if you're looking to purchase more points and you're going to go on a members cruise, definitely buy your points while you're on the cruise, because they give better discounts and perks on those cruises. They also do the same for Adventures by Disney. They'll have folks from Adventures a lot more. There's a lot of salespeople. That whole area where they have the little bars towards the back of the ship, is it? Near the Irish bar, and where they have like the round, I can't remember the name of it, but all that entire back bar area before you get to the ones totally in the rear is all full of salespeople. And they'll take appointments for you to inquire about buying points with whatever location they're selling. If you want to buy more at some place that sales have closed out on, they'll find inventory for you. Like if you have points at Animal Kingdom and you want to add there, or Boardwalk, or wherever, they have an army of DVC members there. And Adventures by Disney.
Have you guys done Adventures by Disney? Just on a weird tangent here. Have you tried that yet?
No, we were really tempted with the offer that they were giving, because we knew we wanted to do Europe in 2019, but they were only doing it on the big sale and promotion that they were giving the DVC members on that cruise was for the river cruises. And we really wanted to go see the Mediterranean. So it just didn't work out for us.
Well, anything else that you can think of, Inez, about these cruises before we talk maybe about the last night and some of the special things that they do on the last night?
No, I don't think so. I highly recommend them. If you have an opportunity, you should give it a try.
Well, how do they kind of end the whole thing? You've got this whole, build up week-long kind of celebration of Disney, DVC, and everything else. How do they kind of put a bow on it and end a cruise like this?
So their big grand finale is where in all your other cruises you'll have, and with this one, every night you have your different shows, right? Like the Golden Mickeys and Believe and all that good stuff. Well, on the very last night of a members cruise, they have Broadway stars that come in and perform. So everyone it's almost like it's the formal night. Everyone is usually really, really dressed up, and they go and hear these Broadway stars perform. Now, I feel really bad. We missed on the 2015 cruise. We didn't get to see it because I didn't realize that they did this, and I wasn't really, I guess, paying very close attention to my navigators, and I didn't pay attention to the sail away party so much. And we had seen at that point all of the shows that were on the Fantasy. We had already been on the Dream. We had been on it before, and I didn't really care to see those shows again. So I thought we shouldn't waste our time. And then I found out that they had Broadway singers on. So I don't know what they did on the 2015 cruise. I do know that they were there. But on the 2017 cruise, they had like a sofa set up, and they did like a little lounge act where they were just talking about different things, and then they would incorporate your favorite songs from your Disney songs into their little skit. So it was really neat. They videotaped it, and I believe I've seen it on some of their ads and such for DVC. It was a really nice way to close out the cruise, to have that special Broadway performance. I think their regular shows are really good, and this was just, phenomenal.
That whole cruise just sounds special and amazing. Where would you like to see them maybe, we talked about this coming year, there's going to be one on the West Coast, which I'm kind of excited about to see him come out to the West Coast. And then they're also going to Bermuda. Where else, as a DVC member, would you be, where would you want to see them do one next rather than, kind of doing the same things over and over again? Where would you want to see them do it?
I would love to see them do something in Europe or the Southern Caribbean, not just using Port Canaveral as their touchstone. If they went someplace, one of the ones that starts maybe further south.
Yeah, I think Europe would be kind of neat too if they would do something like that
Mm-hmm.
over there. Yeah, I think I know the last cruise that we just went on, I was pretty surprised. It was a one-way between Civitavecchia and Barcelona, and I'd never seen so many, and you're talking about platinum members, I'd never seen so many gold and platinum members on a cruise before, so I think they would definitely have the membership that would go over and support it, but maybe they'll do it sometime in the future.
Yeah, there are a lot of DVC members in Europe as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a lot of them maybe making out for that particular cruise instead of one of the Caribbean.
And on that thought, since you've been on so many different cruises, where would you like to see DCL sail to that they don't today?
I would love to see them do more of the Mediterranean. We are going on a Mediterranean cruise this next summer, 2019, and we're actually going to do our first non-DCL cruise because the itineraries just were very limiting. They don't really go to the other, the western side or the eastern side of the Mediterranean. They sort of stop in that lower portion of Italy, so you never really get up to see Venice with DCL, at least not on the itineraries that I've seen in the last 2 years. In Greece, that would be wonderful as well, or Croatia, all really beautiful, it looks like, places that I'm looking forward to see. I'm just sad that I am not going to be seeing them with Disney.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping when they get the 3 new ships that maybe they will expand a little bit more in Europe during the summer sailings, because like you said, they sail mostly in the western, and so it would be neat to see them kind of branch out towards the eastern side, Croatia, Dubrovnik, Split, Venice, maybe down to Turkey someday once that stabilizes, but definitely Athens and some of the Greek islands. So I'm right with you there. That would be kind of neat to see them expand there.
I'm sure people would book them in a heartbeat. Yeah.
I have actually been to on a different cruise line to Venice and Dubrovnik as part of my cruise, and they are fantastic. So I think you'll enjoy it when you do go on a cruise. What cruise line did you pick?
Royal. They had a 12-night that starts in Barcelona and goes through France, all of Italy. We spend the night in Venice and then do Split and Montenegro, and then back over to Barcelona.
Montenegro is a really cool city, and actually when you're cruising into the fjord or whatever, it is the fjord. I don't know why I said whatever. But when you're cruising into the fjord, it is amazing. It's just like you turn and turn and turn, and it's just lush and green and really cool. Like, I don't think we saw it. I believe it was the middle of the night or something when we cruised in. Like, you wake up and your ship is just in this it's just in a little space of green and water. And then the port, it's just really cool. Just you'll see it when you go. It's really cool. I think you'll really enjoy it. And when you go to leave, it's just like you think that, you can't fit in this space, that the ship is too big or whatever, or it turns, and then there's another little tiny alley that the ship has to go through. It's really awesome. It's really, really cool. And Barcelona is super easy to cruise in and out of, which is nice too.
Oh, great. I can't wait.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today, Inez, and kind of sharing your experiences with the DVC member cruises. It was pretty cool to hear all the different experiences that you've had on those 2 different sailings. And I want to wish you and your family the best as you head on your next trips. And when you get back, if you'd like to come back on and share some more of your experiences, we'd love to have you.
Thanks. I was a lot of fun, and I love hearing you guys. So thanks for having me on.
Okay. Well, thank you, Christy, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I want to thank Inez for coming on and sharing her and her family's experiences sailing on the DVC member cruises. And just a reminder, for 2019, DVC is actually having 2 cruises in 2019. The first one is going to be May 15th through May 20th, and that is a Pacific Coast cruise going from San Diego up to Vancouver, British Columbia. And the second one is going to depart from New York City. It's a 7-night cruise to Bermuda, and that one's October 5th through October 12th, 2019. And if you're a DVC member, I haven't looked into these. I'm sure that availability, if there's some availability left, is pretty limited, but you can call DVC Member Services. And if you want to learn more about DVC, you can always go to DisneyVacationClub.com. There's a lot of good information on the website there. And if you have any specific questions, we've been DVC members now for 5 years, so I'm not a complete expert, but I can give you our thoughts and our opinions. If you have any questions, you can always shoot them out to our Facebook page at DCL Podcast, or you can also reach me on Twitter at DCL Podcast as well. And for those of you who listen to our show regularly, you'll know that Christy is an independent travel agent, and she is celebrating her 7th year as a travel agent and starting her own business over there at packyourpixiedust.com. And she's going to be doing a giveaway. She's giving away 7 different prize packages, and she's going to make those drawing on September 7th. You can go over to her Facebook page, Pack Your Pixie Dust, and also go to her Instagram page, Pack Your Pixie Dust as well. Leave a comment there on either one of your favorite social media sites, Facebook or Instagram, and she is going to do a drawing. She's going to give away 7 different prize packages that she's going to draw on September 7th. So go over there and check that out if you would like to be a winner. That's something that... boy, I don't know. One of these days I'm going to win something. We'll see. So between now and our next show, if you would like to get a hold of myself or Christy, you can reach Steve, me, at DCL Podcast on Facebook, or you can reach me on Twitter, also at DCL Podcast. You can reach Christy at Pack Your Pixie Dust on Facebook, packyourpixiedust.com, and also PackYR Pixie Dust on Twitter. If you've enjoyed our shows, we sure would love it if you know somebody else who would enjoy it, if you'd pass it on to them. Also, you can go to iTunes and leave us an iTunes review as well. That helps us get the word out about our show and helps us get a little bit better known in the Disney and cruising community. So between now and our next show, if you're heading out on your next vacation, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.